It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
We're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing okay. Today I want to give a special shout out to our two newest affiliates in Brunswick, Georgia, WGIG, and my buddies over in Nashua, New Hampshire. I can't even speak this morning. That's WSMN 1590. Glad to be part of your guys' sports programming. Hey, today's show, she's being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizza.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And speaking of St. Simon's, don't forget, our next Billy C get-together will be the week of the Mexican holiday in September. I believe it's the second week, maybe? Second or third week. I'll get the exact dates. I know I was supposed to get them yesterday, but I'll get the exact dates. We have put together a great package for you. Includes everything but a hotel. You know why? Because there's a lot of options for hotels, and we didn't want to kind of tie you to one. So how about this? How about a golf tournament, a fishing tournament, a meet and greet? And who you meeting? How about some former world champions and some celebrities, etc., etc., some dinners at Sal's, a breakfast, all of that is, and a fight night. I forgot that, the main fight night. So, hey, you're not going to want to miss it. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Bring the family. Bring your buddies. I don't care, but make sure you go. It is a ticket event, which means you got to have registered to be part of this. You want to get on the list? Right now, there's plenty of room. I know it seems a long way away, but make the plans now. Drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, and the first people that sign up will get a huge discount. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. It's a good one, trust me. It's a read that you can't put down. Once you pick up this book, you can't put it down. It's a fact-filled book, 7 years worth of research to find out everything available on Tom Molyneux. Get yourself a copy from Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Or if you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. If you want more than one copy, I love more than one copy sales. Just drop me an email directly, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Coming up a little bit later, we got Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazzard. And we're going to talk about instant replay in boxing. And you know why? Because New Jersey, thanks to Larry Hazzard, already has instant replay in place. We'll ask him to explain the system, etc., etc. We hear commentators talking about how great it should be, we should have it, we should do this. And never once have I heard them say that it already exists in New Jersey. So we'll be talking about that with Larry and some other stuff. Like one of my topics today, it's got me all riled up. I know yesterday I got all jacked up over the Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder talk. No, not because I don't want them to fight, but because there's a strong possibility that Eddie Hearn will be bringing Anthony Joshua here to the state, specifically Brooklyn, and have him fight the winner of Baby Joe Miller. I'm sorry, not my man, Baby. I'm thinking of Baby Joe Macy. I'm looking at one of his pictures here, my man. But the Baby, Jarrell Baby Miller, and who's, let's face it, no disrespect to him personally, but he's a bum. I mean, he hasn't fought anybody against AJ. And he's suggesting, Eddie Hearn, he's suggesting that Deontay Wilder fight Dillian White. Should Dillian White get past Lucas Brown this weekend? And I say nay. I say nay, nay. I say nay, nay, nay. And the reason is because no one cares about Anthony Joshua beating the snot out of Baby Miller, the bum. Nobody cares about Deontay Wilder beating the snot out of whoever wins between Dillian White and Lucas Brown. Nobody cares about that. All we care about is Deontay Wilder fighting AJ. And if that fight can't be made, there's no other fight right now for either one of those guys. So I got all jacked up yesterday. But guess what? I'm jacked up today. And the reason is because of an open media workout that they had for Triple G yesterday. And, you know, he's very vocal with some of the things he's saying about Canelo. Canelo's a cheater. Canelo's been busted. And I'm appalled that the Nevada State Athletic Commission and that gutless, spineless piece of garbage known as Bob Bennett has not done anything about it. And what I'm even more upset about is the fact that people are accepting the fact that Canelo cheated. And the reason is because of all the money that can be made. We've talked about this for a while. It's a joke. I can't believe it that the safety of a fighter, you know, comes second to the money. And I wouldn't even complain if people weren't up on their high horse saying how we got to clean up boxing and it's all about the safety. These same guys, that same gutless piece of garbage, well, let me phrase that, that gutless, spineless piece of garbage in Bob Bennett, same guy that says that we look out for the safety of our fighters here in the state of Nevada, is not doing the right thing. It makes me sick. And it's all about the money, special treatment for the money. It's ridiculous. I got some comments from Triple G. But first, still with sleepies in his eyes, my main man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal. What's up, man?
Good morning, Billy C. Sleepies in my eyes. Yeah. What are you talking about? I've been wide awake.
Yeah. Hey, Sal, yesterday they had some, man, I think I just blew out my mic.
My speaker. I just blew, hey, I can hear you really well now.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, in my break,
blew out the cushion.
I think you blew out something. But Triple G was interviewed yesterday. And, of course, the facts that, you know, Canelo tested positive. And, by the way, he tested positive on 2 occasions, and they were very close to each other. Tests on February 17th and February 20th. And Triple G, you know, when he was asked about this, came out and said, and I quote, this is Triple G, again with the Mexican meat? Come on. I told you, it's not the Mexican meat. This is Canelo. This is his team. This is his promotion. Canelo's cheating. They're using these drugs, and everybody's just trying to pretend that it's not happening. This guy, he knows this is not the first day in boxing. This is not his first day in boxing. He proves he gets benefits from everyone he can get away with it. Check him on a lie detector, and then we'll find out everything. I think it's silly to blame the meat because an athlete at this level shouldn't be caught on the meat. I eat Mexican food all the time, and I've never tested positive. Because of the just a little note here, because of these positive tests, according to the gutless, spineless piece of garbage, Bob Bennett and his Nevada State Athletic Commission, they are declining to make any kind of comment or announcement on any, if any, disciplinary action because they claim they're in the process of investigating the situation. For now, this fight is going on. Triple G says, if nobody from the commission cancels it, I'm going to just do my job. But this is a hot topic about doping. What did he inject in his belly? What are the marks on his belly? Look at these photos. These questions should be asked of the commission. He also said that he thought the recent positive test was not indicative that this is actually the first time that he's used performance-enhancing drugs. While he was at it with Triple G, he also said that he thought that Oscar De La Hoya and even the guy who won 6 world titles in 6 different weight classes is a dirty fighter as well. He says it's pretty obvious when Alvarez's muscles were all enlarged with traces of injections which were clearly visible before the first fight. I knew he wasn't clean. I can talk about Oscar De La Hoya too. He's not clean. He's a dirty fighter. They had also been sent the same videos that we saw of Alvarez apparently taking some kind of a pill following the weigh-in of the fight from last year, and also with some injection marks on his abdomen. Sal, what do you think of these comments from Triple G? It sounds like he's pretty pissed off, but my question is, why is he fighting? He doesn't need Canelo. This would be a great move for Triple G to spearhead, to really force, especially big commissions like the Nevada State Athletic Commission, into doing what's right. What's your thoughts on his comments and the fact that he should make a stand for the sport? The sport's bigger than both he and Canelo.
True. But here's the thing. Right now, he's making these comments because he wants it to be known that he's aware of it, and you're not going to pee on my leg and tell me it's rain. And so he's making a full stance that he's aware of it. He knows he's been doping, and there's evidence of that. And the bottom line is he's relentless. He doesn't care. He just wants everyone to know that this guy's a cheater, and he's still willing to get in the ring because he felt that last fight, even though a lot of us feel that Triple G beat Canelo Alvarez, he wants to prove it with or without doping. And he just wants to call it as it is. And he's got pride, he's got ego, and he's going to go through with this fight because he's got to destroy this guy with or without using performance-enhancing drugs. That's just it. He's got the vision quest, and he wants to do it. And he wants to make it known that this guy uses drugs, and he wants to make it known that this guy has not been just solely successful along the pathway by using what God gave him, his natural talent.
Great point. For him to, think that way, saying, I don't care if he's a cheater or not, I still want to kick his butt.
And that's exactly it. You get to the point where you just put the blinders on. It doesn't matter. You get incensed by the frustration and anger that this guy has the gullions to do what he did. And the bottom line is you're so incensed by it. But it doesn't matter because you believe in the talent and the ability and everything that God gave you, and you're going to put it all together, and you're gonna beat him no matter what. And if he needs, and he feels if he needs that to get him into the ring and to have him become successful, it doesn't matter because he's gonna shut him up right then and there. He's empowered by his own confidence and his own vision of him destroying Canelo Alvarez.
Team Canelo had a minimal response, and they said Triple G doesn't sound like a confident fighter. It sounds like he's trying to find a way out of this fight. If that's what he wants, he should just say so. Just last week, he was saying the opposite. The remarks about the needle marks, about Oscar, the defamatory comments, etc., we're going to deal with them appropriately. They also wanted to point out that Canelo has been tested 3 times since the original 2 that he failed, which was February 17th and 20th. He was tested on March 3rd, 5th, and 9th. Here's what I see. And this is the part that bothers me the most. I just don't like people getting special treatment. And especially, it's like this, Sal. If 2 people go in and rob a bank or knock over a convenience store or something else, and, let's just make the statement right now that they're both the same color or they're both the same, they both have the same religious belief or anything. So I don't want anybody to throw that in my face. So let's say two people, the same of everything, except one big difference. One of them has money and one of them doesn't. And they both get caught and they both go before, the trial process. And the guy with the money pays and gets a lawyer. And the guy without the money has to accept the public defender. And at the end of the trial, I'd bet you dollars to donuts, or donuts to dollars, whatever the statement is. I'll bet you whatever I got, that the guy with the money gets off. And the guy without the money doesn't. And they're both guilty. So my point is isn't this the same what's going on here? I mean, here you have the Nevada State Athletic Commission trying to cover this up. Listen, they let Floyd Mayweather have IVs in his arm, and they wouldn't let Manny Pacquiao get a cortisone shot in his shoulder before their big fight. It is what it is. But is it fair? And I don't think it is. I think in life, forget about boxing, I think in life it should be an even playing field. I just don't understand why it's not and why people accept it. And that's what's happening here, Sal.
Well, it's a shame because, it is revealing and becoming more and more known as far as the facts and everything else about this. And it's almost like, well, why are they making special concessions for this person, but yet they'll come down like a hammer on somebody else? Well, maybe because what you just said is true. Maybe they're making the concessions here and trying to discolor the facts here because they're wanting a big multi-million-dollar payday fight to take place. And that's all that could be said. I don't know.
I tell you what I would do. Right now, I would want to see an investigation on Bob Bennett. And the reason why I say that is there's too many things, too many coincidences has been happening since he's been where he is. The truth of the matter is everyone should be treated equal, whether that's on a good note or on a bad note. What I mean by a bad note is in a negative situation like we're talking about now. They should be treated equal if they win and equal if they lose. That means if somebody's cheating, then they should be reprimanded, regardless of who the person is, regardless of their name, regardless of the money, regardless of the revenue streams that they bring in. And that's what appears to be happening in Nevada. And it seems to happen in Nevada a lot, that we got, a special treatment being made to special fighters, and then the poor guys that are trying to work their way up are getting kicked to the curb. That's my biggest problem here. Triple G has the potential right now to walk away from this fight and give the reason that, two reasons. Number one, he could say he refuses to fight a cheater in Canelo, and then Canelo will have to face that music with the public and the fans and the sport. And number two, he should also be making a stand against Bob Bennett, that gutless, spineless piece of garbage that's controlling the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and make a stand. And it would be worth something. It's not like Triple G can't go get another fight and make some big money. I mean, it can't be all about the money. And in a sense, Triple G is being hypocritical here, Sal. He shouldn't even complain about Canelo testing positive if he's not going to do anything about it. I get what you said, and I agree with what you said, that he's trying to say, hey, I don't care if he's a cheater or not. I don't care if he brings a gun in the ring. I'm going to fight him and I'm going to kick his butt. I get it. But there comes a time when the sport is bigger than the individuals, and this is that time, in my opinion, Sal.
I see exactly what you mean, and he could do that. But let's play the cards out. If he does that, and if he says, hey, you know what, I'm not going to fight a cheater, I'm not going to do this, there's going to be some repercussions. I mean, you're going to hear from Canelo fans and boxing fans that, oh, Triple G didn't want to fight him, even though he's a cheater, he's clean now. And, and here's the thing, Bill, this will be the story until the next big one comes across the table. And it'll be soon vanished, and everybody it'll be forgotten. And as you said, boxing is bigger than this, and it too will just become part of the diluted rhetoric that we sometimes have to go through. But the bottom line is, like I said, I think he's just so pumped up. He doesn't care if the guy brings a knife or a gun to the fight. He's going to still want to beat him and still want to fight him.
But is he going to make the excuse after the fight?
Here you said that. You said something I didn't want to even touch on, but he's always going to say if he should lose this fight, well, he was cheating. I lost to a cheater.
Exactly.
Or this and that.
Exactly. There's a built-in excuse. Listen, that's another hang-up.
It's a built-in safety net excuse.
And you know what? This is my point. My point is that there's so many flaws with the sport of boxing. There's so much opportunity to get in there and do something on the down low. I mean, it's been like that since day one, and the nature of the sport, because there's when push comes to shove, even though there's a million guys in the fighters' pockets, when push comes to shove, it's not that hard to get to somebody that's involved in the sport. You got 3 judges you can get to. You got 1 referee you can get to. You got the fighters you can get to. You got the trainers you can get to. I mean, it's very limited. It's a small group of people that you could get to maybe make something happen in your favor, okay? Other sports are not quite the same. But with that said, I mean, what's happening here is that, and I say this a lot, nowadays in this world, people are not held accountable for what they do. The accountability factor is not there. Here's an exact example. Canelo Alvarez tested positive twice. And what does he say? It wasn't me. It was the meat I ate. It's that contaminated Mexican meat I ate. I shouldn't have had that taco. I knew I should have got the chicken taco. Give me a break. He's making an excuse. The guy is making an excuse. And Triple G, as much as I agree with him, calling Canelo a cheater and everything else, he's being hypocritical by going on with the fight. I agree with you, what you said and everything, but come on. He's being hypocritical. He's making it like this fight is bigger than the sport, which it's not. No fighter is bigger than the sport. It's time to make a stand. And all Triple G has to do is say, I'm not fighting. I am going to walk away from these millions. I am not going to fight a cheater. And I'm not going to fight in a state that has a commission that's corrupt. And I said it. The C word. Not that one. The corrupt. All right? Bob Bennett is a corrupt, spineless piece of garbage. He's not doing the right thing. He hasn't done it in the past, and he's not doing it now. And the truth of the matter is the last thing I want to hear if Triple G loses on fight night is, well, Canelo's a cheater. No. There's so many things that are set up to hear us get disappointed, Sal.
Well, that is a bad scenario that you just described, and I don't think Canelo and Triple G, I don't believe this fight will go that way. But I do not see in Triple G's makeup and his character that he will actually say something to that effect. I think why he's saying it now is he's bringing that supposition or so to the light so everybody else could draw their own conclusion if he should lose this fight. And sure, his camp may release something without it coming directly from him. And that's how a lot of this stuff happens and gets out in the media anyway. So I think he's covering himself, but I do believe in my heart of hearts that he wants to get in the ring with Canelo Alvarez because he does also feel that he won that last fight, and he wants to prove that he doesn't need anything to intimidate him and not going through with this fight. He wants to prove once and for all that he's the best and he's going to destroy Canelo Alvarez. That's what I feel in his heart. But like I said, you made a good point. The last thing we want to hear is, but, after the fight, but he was on this, or but this happened. And, that's the last thing. I don't think it's in his makeup or character. He's not that kind of guy.
He wears makeup? No, but listen.
Guy, Billy Z.
Listen, I mean, we want to have, we try to have a sport that's credible. And, when you have a commission that's not doing the right thing, that's just praying every morning, that gutless, spineless piece of garbage, Bob Bennett, is on his knees every morning praying to the God above that please have all the fans forget about this situation so I'm not, dragged through the mire anymore. But we're not going to let it go. And the truth of the matter is Triple G is in a very strong position. He's in a position right now to make a very strong statement. And that statement would be, I'm not fighting a cheetah, and I'm not fighting in a state that promotes cheetahs. And something would have to be done. There's no way to spin this. I'm sure that if Triple G decided, which I think he should, not to fight Canelo, that people wouldn't criticize him. How could they criticize this guy? If Canelo's and if people start saying, well, Canelo's tested clean since then, since he moved from the tainted meat area to the, give me a break. Give me a break. It's a built-in excuse, and it really bothers me because there's so many knocks on the sport of boxing that this just adds to it. I just think Triple G is in a position right now to make a bigger than boxing move, and by not doing it, he's hypocritical. It's almost like he shouldn't say anything about it, because he's accepting it just like the powers that be are, just like Canelo's fans are. I don't think Triple G needs this fight. And as a matter of fact, as luck would have it, Sal, and I'm going to mention this, and then we're going to take a break, and we'll talk about it. Billy Joe Saunders was scheduled to fight April 14th against Martin Murray. And guess what?
Somebody got injured. The fight postponed.
He hurt his hand. The fight's postponed. Now they already set up. Who
hurt his hand? Murray or
Billy Joe Saunders hurt his hand. Now they've already reset the date. It's now going to be taking place June 23rd. But that certainly leaves some room to schedule a fight between Triple G and Billy Joe Saunders. Don't mean to kick Martin Murray out of the picture, but I would much rather see Triple G get all the titles or try for all the titles against Billy Joe Saunders. Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
We save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget about the super chat over in YouTube. We're trying to deal with all the chat rooms. We're trying to grow our YouTube box. We're trying to grow our show in the YouTube boxing community. So if you watch the show, if you like the show, pass it along. I guess it's all about the subscribers on YouTube, huh? And we want to increase ours. But in any event, Sal, before we went to break, Billy Joe Saunders injured his hand. They've already made a replacement date or a rescheduled date for June. The whole card that had been scheduled for April 14th was postponed. Now some of the other fights are going to be put on other cards, but they are going to be fighting still. They rescheduled it to June 23rd. Murray said he's gutted, but he's happy there's a new date set, and he's looking forward to it. I still believe Triple G should go after Billy Joe Saunders and walk away from Canelo. What's your thoughts?
Well, don't think that that might not be going through some people's minds, and this postponement, although it could be from an injured hand, might be giving some time to weigh out the trade-offs here, see what's going to happen. You may very well see that, Bill, if he decides to go that route. We'll see. This game is the bouncing ball keeps going, you know?
Yeah, a bouncing boxing glove.
There you go. There you go.
You know, but yeah, I just think that Canelo is, he was exposed by himself, and he's not holding himself accountable, and neither are the powers that be, and that's what bothers me the most. And I've always said that the strongest commissions in the sport of boxing, New York, Nevada, New Jersey, California, those are the tops. And here we have one of those top four, and they're not doing the right thing. New York, here's the thing. New York has been criticized over the years. Thomas Hauser was on their butts for a decade. And here's my opinion. New York State Athletic Commission isn't the best. But and as a matter of fact, they overdo it. Now you're getting a physical exam in between rounds. There's 19 doctors on ringside. They're really covering their butts. But at least they're trying to improve. You got to give them an A for effort. Nevada seems to be getting worse and worse. This Bob Bennett has to go. I mean, I hate to. I don't know the guy personally. Just because he was a wimp, wasn't man enough to respond to my letter about the other issues. But for this particular issue, come on, man. To me, this is a cut and dry issue, and it's a shame. It's a shame that they're not doing the right thing, Sal.
Well, I agree, and it is what it is. And, boxing has never been squeaky clean on a lot of levels. And but to further dilute it and it put a stain here and there, it hurts. But let's play that scenario out, Bill. Let's see. What if this fight does not take place because Triple G says, hey, I'm not going to fight a cheater? What happens? What happens to the career? Do we see Triple G go forward and fight Billy Joe Saunders? Most likely we will. what happens to Canelo? Does Canelo say, well, he's a chicken, and then shut his mouth because he can't retort that much with what was found on his end? And then Canelo has to get back a belt, so he's going to go. Who do you think Canelo's going to fight after that? If this happens,
it doesn't matter. Listen. Remember,
I know what you're saying. Here's a stance. That's the whole thing.
Well, here's the thing: how can Canelo and who, aside from Golden Boy Brass, who can refer to Triple G as a chicken? I mean, Triple G was chasing Canelo around for 3 years, and then all of a sudden, Canelo's the guy that is caught cheating. No, I think Triple G is in the driver's. See, from a business perspective, if it were me, I would spin this around, and I would become, if Triple G was my fighter, I would make him be two things. Number one, clearly the victim, which he is, and number two, switch seats. Put Triple G in the driver's seat, because how can Canelo argue that? Canelo is on his back foot right now. If we look at this as a round inside the ring, Triple G is attacking him. Canelo's on his back foot. Why let off the pressure? It's the same thing he did in the first fight. It's the same thing he did. Triple G did the same thing in the first fight. Why is he doing it now in the pre-fight? Triple G has a situation right now. He's got Canelo against the ropes. Why are you letting off? Go after him. Go for the knockout. That's what I say.
I think you can resurrect the old Eagles song and do it in a cartoon fashion. Take another shot of courage.
Listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. And I give, like you suggest, I give Triple G all the credit in the world for going ahead with it. But Canelo's a cheater, and we need to. If people truly want to stop cheating in boxing, they truly want to stop, because that's a whole nother. We can make an argument about that. Hey, listen, forget it. All the cheaters are still going to cheat. Let them cheat. Let them shoot up with whatever the hell they want and go in there. Baseball players want to hit home runs. Let them cheat. I want to see home runs hit every time they swing the bat. I mean, that's really what people want. But they hide behind it. They use the he's a cheater when it's convenient for them. Now, if you're going to listen, you want to set a speed limit on the highway and you want people to abide by it? Well, there's an easy way to slow people down. You set up a couple of cops there, and you give them a ticket. And then all of a sudden they realize, well, I don't want to get a ticket, so I got to slow down. If there's no repercussion, if there's no penalty enforced, nobody's going to stop. And by saying, oh, he tested positive, and then keeping quiet, not doing any kind of reprimand, it's never going to stop, Sal.
No, you got a good point, and that's a good analogy, Bill. And I'm trying to see what can be the fallout and what's going to happen. I think, as we see it here, it's the cat's out of the bag, and the mentality of each fighter is going to be evident if they get in the ring the night of the fight time. And you got Triple G who doesn't care if he takes a gun to a knife fight, because he just feels in himself that he's going to beat him and destroy him. And you got Canelo. Now, what demons is Canelo going to have if he has to stop taking this stuff, the juice, so to speak, if he was caught and there's no other way to mask around it, because he can't take that chance right now. He's going to go into the ring with a little deflated ego, because believe it or not, maybe that it was, I don't want to say dependency, but lack of a better term. But it's like you get an additional how they can classify it as just a benefit or competitive edge is how you can nullify and make it as benign as possible, calling it a competitive edge. So he's not going to have that competitive edge. What is that going to do to his psyche? Well, knowing the last time he fought Triple G, maybe he had some substance that made an enhancement or competitive edge. Now he's probably not. So, I think Triple G's weighing that into the consideration here of going through with the fight and saying, well, I'm going to play with this guy's head and everything else and his body and his soul. I'm going to take it and I'm going to beat him. That's all.
Who? That you think that Triple G is playing with Canelo's head, or you think Canelo's playing with Triple G's head?
No, I think that Triple G could play with Canelo's head in that fact that, you know, if he can't use the juice, so to speak, for training and getting back into the ring, and there's going to be all kinds of tests being made up to fight time and then after. Well, I think that, you know, Triple G knows that that's going to be, well, if he went through with this and it wasn't detected in the first fight, and he felt that that was an enhancement to help him win or to help him sustain a level of ability to fight as he did, well, he's not going to have that crutch to lean on this fight because it's going to be disclosed and disposed, and they're going to be testing before, during, and after the fight, and not having that enhancement is going to be playing with Canelo's psyche, possibly. That's all I'm suggesting.
Okay, well, that makes sense. You know, if he really felt that he needed something to help him win.
What I'm saying is, yeah, a fighter that does something like that breaks the rules like that. See, that's why it's so evident right here. What's going on? It's bigger in this picture. Let's say Canelo Alvarez just started the last fight. Let's say Canelo Alvarez has done it just for his big fights, the last couple fights, or this fight with Triple G that took place last year. And now Canelo feels like, wow, well, I took the juice and I did really well with it, and I got a draw with Triple G, and I'll do the same thing, and this time I'll beat him. Well, he got caught with his hand in a candy bag, literally, and now he's not going to be able to use that so-called wonder pill or juice that he felt dependent or that he considered or counted on his last time out. So there's a little flaw in his self-confidence. That's all I'm suggesting may be a scenario that Triple G is also counting on, that, hey, I don't care. It's out of the bag. I'm going to fight him no matter what. And if he needs a juice and he's not going to be in the ring with the juice this time, I'm going to totally destroy him. That's just what I'm saying could come into play here. I don't know.
You know, here's the thing. And this is the truth, you know, and I like both fighters, honestly. Canelo didn't get caught cheating in the first fight, so we have to assume that he didn't cheat. But what's going to happen is everyone's going to assume he's been cheating. And, you know, the fact remains that he got caught this time. But I think the worst part of it is the policing body, which is the commission, is not doing anything about it. They're not giving us any answers. And it's making it worse. But anyway, I just feel that Triple G should walk away from this fight and make a statement, not for himself, but for the sport. Sal, I know you got to go and make another cup of coffee or 2 or 9. We are going to get Larry Hazard on the line. We'll come back to you after our blast from the past. So don't go anywhere, all right?
I look forward to listening. Thanks,
all right,
pal.
my man. We'll be back with Larry Hazard. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there.
Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking about being with us, joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, the one, the only, Larry Hazard. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Billy.
How you making out today, my man?
Hey, well, here we go again, Billy. The last week.
I know. Maybe we should stop calling each other. Maybe it's our fault. We've been on to, you know how everybody, like, I don't want to make an excuse, but every time you call, Billy C, we're getting hammered with snow here. But I got a bunch of stuff to talk to you about today. First and foremost, the fight that took place this past weekend, Ramirez against Amir Rahman, I enjoyed the fight. The fight was a great fight. I think I enjoyed the interview with Don King and Bob Arum a little better, although I'm not crazy about that new guy. I think he's trying to copy Larry Merchant's style. But about the fight itself, I thought the right guy clearly won, but I was really questioning. I know you can't say or not say certain things, but Stacey McKinley, in my opinion, is a curse. I mean, anybody that has him in his corner for big fights, they never win. And I was amazed at the advice that this guy was giving Amir Rahman. And he's telling Rahman, what are you doing? Showing him that power right hand. Don't do it. Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. And he's saying this in the 6th round. And by the end of the 7th, I'm saying to myself, when's he going to unleash it? What's he waiting for the next fight? I mean, so often do these trainers say the stupidest things in the corner. You know, it's like, hey, I know you can knock this guy out, but we need the round, so don't knock him out. What are you talking about? Anything can happen in this sport. What's your thoughts of the instruction that Amir Rahman got in the corner during Jose Ramirez fight?
Well, it was a comedy show. That's why I call it a comedy show sometimes when I listen to these trainers. But all it does is it just confirms, you know, in my mind, the great need for real teachers in the sport of boxing again. And, of course, what it does, it just confirms the fact that oftentimes we talk about the great trainers from the past, and we compare them with the trainers that are there today, and it's one thing that's greatly missing in the corners. You know, you don't see the guys, you don't see the Eddie Futches and the Emmanuel Stewarts and the great trainers that we're used to. It was comical. It was comical listening to some of that. But someone told me, someone who knows Stacey, and I happen to know Stacey also. They called me up. They say, Larry, every time I see Stacey in a fighter's corner, I tell everybody to vote on, bet on the other guy. So,
I know. Trust me, man. I don't even want to say, but very close people to him have told me the same thing. Don't ever go with him. And the thing is, and I was talking about it the other day. 2 new fighters that are coming over from another country who have been ripped off in this, and the first fights this weekend. And who's in the corner? Stacey McKinley. I was like, oh God, what a mistake, But anyway, it's a shame because Aman, he's got that pop, and he's got that body that if he listen, there's no reason to wait. If you can take out a guy in 1 round, take him out, man. Why risk something happening, a headbutt, slipping, knocking yourself out? I mean, all the things could happen. It's just such poor advice. But
I thought that kid coming up, I said, wow, man, DK got him another real good fighter. in that Imam when he was starting out. And I'm always, you know, when I look at trainers, you know, I'm always reminded of those words that the great Angelo Dundee, when he told Sugar Ray Leonard, "You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it." And I mean, it just seemed to me that just got him going, man. You remember, you know, when my great favorite, you know, seemed like he was getting lackluster in the fight, and Angelo said those words to him, man. He just couldn't wait for that bell to ring. And, you know, I'm always thinking about that when I look at some of these trainers in the corner. But, Stacy, I don't know. I really don't know what to say, but that's the word on Stacy. You know, if you see him in the corner, I was told, bet on the other guy. So,
you know, it goes back to what I was saying, you know, and I want to get off topic because I got a bunch of stuff to talk to you about. But, you know, teachers in the sport of boxing as a trainer are becoming extinct. And I've said this, and we've talked about this on the show, and the sad reality is I've never trained a fighter in my life, but you know damn well that if I showed up to a fight and I, you know, paid the license fee as a chief second, guess what? I'm a trainer for that fight. And that's the sad part. What we really need is to tighten the reins. What this sport needs, Larry, is to tighten the reins on the people involved in the sport. And if we could try to get more people that know the sport of boxing involved in the sport of boxing, it would just, the trickle-down effect would just make it that much better. The reason why Angelo Dundee was so successful with that comment to Sugar Ray Leonard is because he wasn't a rah-rah man. This was a guy that was a teacher and told his fighters in between rounds something instructional that his fighter would go and perform. But when he did need to kick him in the butt, when he did need to put on the cheerleader costume, the fighter listened. The trainers today are always in, don't do this MFer and blah, 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 you're better than that, blah, blah. That's all they ever hear from these guys. So when they're in trouble, it's not exclamated. In other words, they don't think of anything different. It's the same rhetoric they hear when they're winning, you know. So it's true. We need trainers that are teachers, not rah-rah men. And you know, the system that's in place now it's just not working. You know, we're not producing teachers. We're producing rah-rah men.
And that TV camera has a lot. That TV camera has a lot to do with the rah-rah men also. They know, they go home, like I always say, everybody goes home and then they see the replay of the fight, either real late that night or the next day. And they listen to the commentators who are now making this a big TV production about the referee, how much the fans love him or her, and the trainers in the corner. You know, when that camera comes over there, okay, the rah-rah starts because, you know, there have been some trainers who have made a lot of money, you know, off of that spotlight. And so this is where it goes, man. I mean, you know, we have to call it like it is, and that certainly has played a great part in what we've seen, aside from the fact that some of these trainers don't know a left hook from official.
Well, you know, the commentators, you make a great point, because the commentators, most of them today, especially on the big networks, are corporate guys. So they're saying what they're told to say in the headset. You know, they're saying what the house fighter's supposed to do. They're always, you know, a lot of times you're wondering what fight they're watching. And the same is true about specific judges, and more specifically, the referees. That guy, what's his name, Steve Willis or whatever, you know, for him to get the accolades that everybody loves him because he makes googly-eyed faces and does his little dance and all, I think that's a travesty. That's embarrassing to the sport of boxing. The best referees, in my opinion, are the ones you forget who refereed the fight because they weren't in the picture. You know, they were doing their job. You know, those are the best referees. But in any event, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today that has been come up quite a bit, and following that line with the commentators, is very often we hear commentators saying, we need instant replay in boxing, blah, 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 blah. And I always say, why isn't any of these guys mentioning that Larry Hazard has already incorporated instant replay in the state of New Jersey? So we talked a little about it last week. I said we were going to talk this week. So I want you to explain to everybody that's watching and listening, how does, since no one else is helping you, Larry, get the instant replay to be the norm and not the exception, how does the instant replay system work in the state of New Jersey as of right now?
Well, it's difficult because we have really rarely used it or had to use it, and so it really, hasn't gotten the attention, and it hasn't made people aware of the fact that we do have it in New Jersey, and we've had it for quite a number of years now. But the problem is, Billy, is that the reason that you don't see it and we're not using it as much as we like is because it's an option that's given to the promoters, and mainly for the major events in professional boxing and MMA. The one time, believe it or not, no, it was maybe twice, that we have used it was in MMA and in MMA events, and it was used very successfully, and we were able to implement it very quickly to correct a referee error, to correct a situation that had occurred in an MMA event. We've never had to really use it in a boxing event on site for something that occurred. And it works simply like this. In major boxing events where you have networks, HBO or Showtime or some of the major networks where we have a TV monitor that's placed on the in front of the commission station where the commissioner and the commission officers are sitting. And we are actually watching the fight from two perspectives, looking straight at the action in the ring and glancing back and forth at the monitor when you feel that it might be appropriate. In heated exchanges and in a lot of infighting, you would closely watch that monitor because sometimes you can see things occur there that you don't see in real time, believe it or not. And so if something occurs, anything that would have a direct impact on the result of the bout is in play. If a knockdown occurs, or if a fighter steps on a fighter's foot and a fighter goes down and it wasn't a clear knockdown, or, which is very important, if a cut was produced by a punch or a headbutt. Those are the types of instances where instant replay comes in and is very critical, very crucial in the outcome, because it could make a difference in who wins or loses the fight. Those are the instances in which, we would bring it into play. And so, if that occurs, we would take advantage of the rest period, just as they do when you're sitting at home watching a fight, and there's a questionable event that occurs, just as we do sitting at home when they show it in slow motion or they show it through instant replay at home during that rest period, and you get a clear view of what occurred. We do the same thing, and if we have to make that correction, we do it. It's as simple as that. And I think that it hasn't really been noticed that much because of the fact that we haven't had to do it in boxing, and oftentimes in some of your regular club, what we call club shows, the promoters can't afford to pay for the monitor for the commission to have it, because it is at this point pushed back on the promoter. It's an expense for the promoter if they wish to use it. But in the state of New Jersey, we do have it, and we've had it now for at least 8 or 9 years.
So the bottom line is you got to have TV, a TV event, because that will have the hardware, so to speak, in place for you. Just like I had thought, because the only thing that makes sense is there's only two things that you're reviewing. Number one, if it was a knockdown or not, whether, like you suggest, if he stepped on his foot, if his glove did hit the canvas or if it didn't, and what caused the headbutt. Because to me, those are really the only two questionable things that could change the outcome in a fight, just like you mentioned. Now, my question is, who makes the decision to check it? Is it something that the commission says, hey, check that? Is it something that the referee is asking for? Is the corner asking for it? Because in other instant replay, the way instant replay works in other sports, somebody else challenges the call that was made. Who's making the decision to review whether it was a headbutt or a punch or a knockdown or not?
It's made. It's the regulatory authority. It's made between the referee and the commission. I'm sitting there watching it, and if I feel it's something that the referee missed, I will let him know. Or if it's something that he has a question about, he will come over and raise the question. All instances are not reviewable, because if you allow that, then like everything else, guys will be requesting that you stop and review, or they'll be bringing up all kinds of ridiculous things that they want you to try to look at to be able to get a win. But no, it's strictly the referee and the commission. That's it.
Yeah, that's the only way it could work. And once again, unfortunately, because of the cost of things, it prevents it being widespread. That's the main reason. So really, you try to work with the promoter. See, people don't understand that commissions try to work with a promoter within reason. We're not trying to put, or I shouldn't say we, commissions aren't trying to put promoters out of business or preventing them from putting on events. As a matter of fact, we want, or commissions want, a lot of promoters to the more events that we have, the better it is for the sport. But it always seems it's like the same thing that you and I have talked about, the medical thing. I came up with an idea, I presented to that ABC. Everybody loved the idea, but nobody wants to do it because of the cost. And the same issue, well, not the same issue, but based on the cost, is what's happening right now with the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the situation with Canelo and Triple G. They're letting the guy that's the cash guy, Canelo, seemingly get away with cheating, and they're not making a strong stand. It's under investigation, no comment, blah 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 blah, like a normal politician does. And meanwhile, the same guy that is saying, "Oh, we care, we look out for the safety of our fighters, we look out for the safety of our fight." What he should say is, "We look out for the safety of the fighters, unless it's a fighter that's bringing in a lot of revenue, because then we're going to look the other way." See, that to me just gets my goat, Larry, because a fight like that, the Triple G Canelo fight, you get a guy like Triple G that says, "Forget it, I'm not fighting a cheetah," and walks away. That's what we need in this sport. Somebody to say, "Forget it, I want to make a stand to show that the sport is bigger than the participants, and in this case, than the commission." Because I think the Nevada State Athletic Commission has not been doing or handling things on the up and up in the last couple of years. New York got blasted for the Mago Abdulzamov thing, and they're trying to make corrections. They may be going over the top a little with 19 doctors and performing a physical, inspection after every single round. But at least they're trying to do something. What's your thoughts?
Well, I've always been kind of reluctant to speak on certain things, But I do think, in fairness to, and what you're saying, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying in terms of we do need to make a statement at certain times that the sport is bigger than everybody. The sport is first. The sport is bigger. But in fairness to my colleague in Nevada, Bob Bennett, here's a guy who really, a lot of people don't know. He really tries to do a good job, but the Nevada Commission, is structured quite differently than a lot of other commissions, in that you get a lot of big fights out in Nevada, which makes people want to be a part, want to be seen. And Mr. Bennett really has to deal with a lot of other individuals in the decision-making process out there. And a lot of times, there are decisions that are made are not simply his decision, but decisions of those 4 or 5 people that sit on that commission who may not be as well versed in the sport as Bob Bennett. And I just wanted to say that, in fairness to him. And it's not that, him and I are that buddy, like, I don't really, I've never met him actually, personally, but I have talked to him on the phone a few times and several times. And the guy, he does seem to be the type of individual who wants to do the right things, but he is a very professional guy. He wants to do the right things, but I do get the impression that a lot of the decisions that are made in Nevada, and I've known this for years, they don't have the level of independence that some other commissions have. And I think that a lot of that might be due to the fact that there's a lot of big fights out there, and people want to be seen. People want to exercise their authority. He's not the chairman of the commission. He's just the executive director. And so the chairman and some of those other members out there, everything out there has to go to a vote, Billy. I don't even know if you know it. When he assigns officials to events, those officials have to be voted on by that board out there, that commission board, unlike in many other states. So I just wanted to say that. I question, some of the things that happen sometimes where he may be, the finger may be pointed directly at him when it's really not all his doing. Just in fairness, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, he's the guy that is being paid to be the face, and so since that's the case, if he's not making the decisions and everybody behind the scenes are, well, if I'm him, I'm behind the door going, hey guys, I'm the guy that's getting blasted by people like Billy C, and at least do the right thing. I mean, come on, if that's even worse. You could take one guy who makes a bad decision. Okay, I made a bad decision. But if you got a whole, chair of people, you got a whole committee making a decision, and they're making the wrong one all the time, well, then I would reboot and get a new committee, because this issue is terrible. It's just, you can't listen, if we want to have a clean sport, you got to make an example of someone. And when a big name is busted, that's usually when the point gets across. I used the analogy before. If a state has a speed limit and they want to enforce it, it's easy. They put a couple of cops there, and if you're driving faster than the speed limit, you get a ticket. Guess what? You start slowing down after a couple of tickets, and it's the same thing in boxing. Yeah. You can't keep saying, oh, we want a clean sport, we want a clean sport, and then nobody really gets reprimanded for it, and here's a case where, Canelo was busted, so everyone doesn't want to cancel the fight. There's too much money. Even Triple G himself is being hypocritical. You know, if you're going to fight, and Sal made a point earlier, he said, well, you know, Triple G wants to prove that he'll fight a guy whether he's cheating or not. Great, but don't complain about it. And the other thing that I'm worried about in this case, Larry, is that we got a built-in excuse if he loses. You know, if Triple G loses, you know what? I would have won, but he's a cheater. You know, come on. Listen, you either say he's a cheater and don't fight, or you don't say anything about it anymore. I mean, really, that's the two options, don't you think?
No. You make a great argument. I mean, I have to agree with everything you're saying. You know, I'm just throwing in some of the other elements, and I really can't argue with you. You're absolutely right. It has to stop somewhere, and you make a great point. You know, where you say, you know, we're creating excuses for the other guy if he loses, and that's a terrific point, because you know as well as I know, you're going to get that song and dance at the end. Well, I don't want to make up any excuse. Now here comes the excuse.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So it's going to happen. So I really can't argue with you. You make a good point there.
Hey, Larry, I got one more thing, and I got about a minute before I got to take a break. But we all want the Wilder-Anthony Joshua fight. There's no question about it. And Wilder had a great performance in his last fight out. AJ's fighting Joseph Parker next week, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it was announced earlier this week that Eddie Hearn is considering bringing a big fight to New York, which we already talked about. But his plan is to have AJ, should he beat Parker, fight Baby Miller, who I think doesn't deserve even to be a headliner, let alone fight for a title, and Wilder potentially fighting Dillian White, should Dillian White win this weekend. And my point is why? These two guys, the only next fight that either one should have is against each other. We don't need to marinate this fight. Deontay has proven that he deserves the fight against AJ. Now, whether you think he's going to win or not, that's neither here nor there. Why make us wait? It doesn't make sense. The money that could be made in that fight would supersede both purses that they could make in a preliminary fight. What's your quick thoughts?
Absolutely none at all. It makes no sense. Why? What are you waiting for? You know, the only fight that I want to see, or anybody probably wants to see, is Wilder versus Joshua. And these other two guys that they're fighting, okay, only further perpetrates the fraud of illegitimate matchups, because the fans know going in, okay, what's going to happen. And, of course, you know, in a fight, anything could happen, but God forbid we don't have another Tokyo, Japan with Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson in either one of those fights. What would that do to the matchup between Joshua and Wilder then?
Exactly.
So why are you putting it off? Okay, why not just put them both in there and let's do this thing and get it over with?
Exactly, and that's more evident in the heavyweight division than any other. You know, that same bum that we're laughing at lands a lucky punch, and everybody loses millions and millions of dollars over it. There's no sense. You get into a car, God forbid, you get into a car accident. A bus hits you when you're crossing the street. I mean, all these things can happen. There's no sense. The greed factor is so obvious that they're the old saying, they're tripping over dollars to make a few pennies, you know, and it's stupid. But anyway, enjoy the fight this weekend. We got that heavyweight fight, and we'll be looking to talk to you about it next week, brother.
Okay, you too, Billy.
And be careful with all that snow, will you? And I'm glad most of it's down by you, man. We're gonna get mist up here. It's going to go out into the ocean. So thank God we're getting saved once, you know.
Well, I'm at home. The state is closed. You know, that's why I had you call me the other way. The state is closed. They don't mess around. They close right up every time we hear that a storm is developing. You know, so I guess they don't want to take any chances, which is a good thing. So this is where I'll be, right here in the house under the television.
There you go.
With my computer.
There you go,
Okay.
and in your feety pajamas, I know. So, you know, you have a good day. Stay warm. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Billy, you too.
Take care. That's my man Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer, giving us his thoughts. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, this week's Blast from the Past, Don King. Yeah, we did Bob Arum last week, Don King this week. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And it's that time again. It's time for our Blast from the Past. And this week's Blast from the Past is being brought to us by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check out the website, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and join today. And it's also being brought to us in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Download your copy right now while you're watching and listening to the show. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout banner. Can't miss it. It's on the right. Well, this week's Blast from the Past is actually a follow-up of last week's, kinda, because last week we did Bob Arum and Top Rank. Well, this week, as per request, we are doing a Blast from the Past on the one, the only, Don King. And joining us right now to tell us all about the man, the myth, the legend himself, is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Alex Perpali. Good morning, Alex. You're muted. We hear no sound from you. We will get, for some reason, I'm not getting any sound from my man Alex. No sound, brother. So there's obviously we got the picture, but no sound. So I will wait till Alex can get some sound. But Don King, we talked to. Let's see. Are you there now?
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you. There he is.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, hey, Don King. Hey, Alex, what's up, man?
Hey. You know what did it? I plugged it in and plugged it out again and then put it back in.
There you go. You should start an IT business, because that's all I used to do for 30 years.
Pretty good, huh?
Did you turn it on? Oh, what? You mean this button? You're amazing. Yeah, wait till you get my bill.
Pulled the plug, plugged it back in.
Yeah.
It worked.
Well, you laugh, but I used to have to do that all the time. Is it on? Well, the monitor's black. All the lights are on. Are the lights on the monitor? Oh, you mean, wait. Oh, here it is. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm still charging you a service call. But anyway, Don King, what a follow-up after with us doing Bob Arum. And to be honest with you, Alex, I absolutely loved I liked the fight between Ramirez and Amir Oman. That was a great fight. But I absolutely loved the interview with Don King and Bob Arum. Although I'm not crazy about that, what's his name? Harold Letterman wannabe. But no, not Letterman. Larry Merchant. Larry Merchant. Yeah, Mark Kriegel. He's a Larry Merchant wannabe.
Yeah, I don't mind him, but yeah, I mean he's maybe better in a written style. His on-air presence, he's not as smooth yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah, I'm old school. I like boxing. I like the D's and the do's and the don'ts. When you try to make it. Well, see, I'm talking to the wrong guy. I'm talking to the wrong guy about that. So
because we did get a good story though, and I think he teased that out of them in a great way. And to me, it was like this. The thing that's cool about them is that they're still rivals, and even the way they were telling the story, you could tell they didn't like the way each other were telling the story.
No, but the best part of the interview, and it was 100% truth, and there was no way that they could have denied it, and I was so glad to see them both admit it, was that they said that they would have never been as successful without each other, and that was my topic that one of the shows this week, that they made great dance partners, and it's such the case in the sport of boxing. When you have the right dance partners in the ring, and in their case they showed it outside the ring as well, you become a star. If you don't, everybody always criticizes you when it's really not justified.
Yeah, and I think that idea that a rival and a sense of competition, that makes everyone better. It makes you better to have to know that there's another guy nipping at your heels, sometimes doing better than you, sometimes right behind you, but he is always trying to do the same thing you're doing. And it makes them both better. And I think for our sport, it's about that. And when you think about it, it's about combat. And I think for me, at least, that's why listening, I was only half listening to some of what you and Larry were talking about. But, I heard the beginning of the show with you and Sal. For me, the thing, that idea of corruption and how it's very close to our sport. And our sport, of course, more than others, I think it shouldn't be surprising, because even though it's, of the highest form of competition like sport, it's also violent. It's legalized assault. And I think because of that, our sport maybe mirrors life in a way that the others do not. And I think the truth is that our world, our systems of government are corrupt. So why shouldn't the fight game be corrupt? To me, they're mirrors of each other. So I don't know, that I like that, because like me, I like things in their whole totality, not necessarily just one good part. I am the guy who is the Tyson fan who's got the framed photo that Emily Harney took of him flat on his back.
And I'll never forgive you for that. When I was
I know.
that was like I'm scarred for life over that image on your wall. But anyway, Don King, tell us about the man.
Yes, so Don King, of course, just like we did Bob Arum last week, this week is Don King. And the thing that's kind of interesting, they are the same age, 86, which is stunning. To be in that great shape at 86 must be pretty great. They still travel the world, and as you can see, they're both still at their business. Of course, Bob Arum's business more successful than King at this time. King is largely, according to BoxRec, they list him as inactive as a promoter. But as we saw, he was working with Imam this weekend. But he was born August 20th, 1931. He's, I guess, 5 months older than Arum. He was born in Cleveland, Ohio. And he was high school educated, went to John Adams High School in Cleveland. And I guess he started at Kent State University, but did not finish. There's a Frontline documentary about him that is pretty hard hitting. It was done in the 90s, or I think 91. It was right around the time when the first Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield fight was scheduled and then had to be postponed because I forget if he got cut or something, or hurt a rib, I guess, in training. And then the rape trial started in the interim before they could get it, rescheduled. And of course, he went to prison. But it's a pretty hard-hitting documentary. A lot of it is based on the Jack Newfield investigation into him. So he was furious about it because it does not paint him in too positive a light. And he did start with a very criminal past. He was intensely involved with the numbers racket in Cleveland. And numbers, of course, for anybody who doesn't realize, is like it's almost like a local or regional lottery where people could participate in and bet on and try to win money. And he ran a ring like that, so he was involved with organized crime. If you're fans of the Supreme Court, I just found this out. The decision Mapp versus Ohio, which I believe is a Fourth Amendment search and seizure case, Don King was somewhat connected to that. The house that was investigated, they were looking for evidence for a state trial, a numbers trial, and I guess they found some stuff that was linked to King and some other guys who ran numbers, and it led to that decision, the Mapp versus Ohio case, which I thought that was a little interesting for any law students out there. Yeah, one of the things that I did think was, they do mention in that documentary, Billy C., that's pretty cool, is that, of course, his signature hair, that was the idea of a friend of his who was a soul singer named Lloyd Price, who thought, it would be a good idea to be as big as the fighters you're promoting, that people automatically got like a twofer show, that the show was the fight that he was promoting, but also his presence. So he used to always dress in tuxedos, and the one time he saw King like sort of combing his hair, and he said, "Hey, wait a minute, do that," and he combed it all straight up, and he called it Electric Lights, and he went with it.
It also kind of looked, many people thought it looked like a crown, Don King, like he was wearing a crown. But the numbers racket that he ran is well documented. And normally, and unlike other people who had been involved or allegedly involved with, underhanded things like that, you never hear it really documented as crystal clear as Don King was. I mean, it's very documented that he had a whole operation that he ran. They even knew where it was and how it was run, and et cetera, et cetera. The famous thing, which the whole story is kind of fascinating, was that he was charged with killing 2 people in his life, and they were 13 years apart. One was when a guy was attempting to rob him, and he was shot in the back, and that was dismissed. He got over on that one. The other one, he stomped the guy to death over $600. He did do time for that, but he was pardoned in 1983. So technically right now, he doesn't have any of that on his record, which is kind of amazing. But nonetheless, he turned it around and is more famously known now as a boxing promoter.
Yeah, that was for the shooting was ruled a justifiable homicide
in the back,
and you're
in the back.
I know. Well,
even in the Western times, you could. Even in the Western times, you couldn't do that.
It's robbing a gambling house.
I know.
So it was, So, but
hey, you know what that means? Hey, you know what that means? That means that if you, if you're shooting, if you're a drug dealer, and you kill a guy trying to steal your stuff, you still should go to the cops because you might get off on it, right?
That's right. It was your stuff.
Right. Forget about that. It was illegal.
But yeah, so the guy he stomped to death was named Sam Garrett, and he weighed 100 pounds less than Don, and they had been connected. He owed Don. He had worked for Don, and he owed Don $600. And Don just kept kicking him in the head. The detective who came upon the scene, who his name is Tunney, which I thought was kind of interesting. Bob Tunney, not Gene. And he came upon the scene. I guess King had a revolver in his hand, but he was kicking him, kicking Sam Garrett in the head. And as he came, he drew on him and he said, "Put the gun down." And King put the gun down. So as the cop went over to get the gun, Don took another kick at him. And then he died, I guess, within, with hours or something. And you're right, that he was going to trial on murder or homicide.
Well, he was convicted of second-degree murder.
Well, wait a minute. This is the part that, to me, shows right from the beginning that he definitely had organized crime connections, because they reduced the charges to manslaughter in this clandestine meeting that the prosecutor wasn't even in, that King's lawyers and the judge had. So it makes you think, wow, was he so connected to organized crime? Because at some point, there was another point in this Newfield thing that he was paying, at one point when he was making 15 grand a day in this numbers racket. And he was paying the Cleveland mob to protect his gambling ring. So how far was that connection? If it involved a judge, perhaps, because you can't prove it. But in that meeting, the judge knocked the charge down to manslaughter. Why? And supposedly the cop was even approached to say, hey, he was approached by King's lawyer. Hey, Don King's a powerful guy. Do you want to, he could do a lot for you. And the Tunney said, no, nah. But I guess you wonder, all the witnesses didn't show up. So it went down to a manslaughter. So I thought that was interesting, because I had always heard it was manslaughter, but from what it sounds like, it could have been murder.
Well, that fine line, and not to get into that, but that fine line between manslaughter and murder. Murder's premeditated. You make a plan, you go out. He could have, the way I could see this happening for Don is that, he didn't mean to kill him. He was trying to get his point. He was trying to get his point across. The point of his shoe. The point of his shoe. He's trying to get it across the skull of Mr. Garrett. No, we shouldn't make fun of it. Let's move on. He got into the boxing business. Really nothing less than a huge splash when he put together one of the biggest fights in history in 1974 between Ali and Foreman. Tell us about that.
Yeah, massive. And he really, this is the part where you do think of him as an impressive American character, is that despite this highly checkered past, he is a man of independent spirit and bold action, and he really puts this deal together. And a lot of it, we talked about this a little bit last week with the race card and the racial element behind, some of Evel Knievel's comments and the anti-Semitism that Aram got. But so King was in a sport that were mostly predominantly black athletes and, for the most part, white promoters. So he saw this avenue, especially in the 70s, where there was the sort of black is beautiful movement, and that spirit, and especially in the character of Ali. He appealed to Foreman Ali to their blackness, and it worked for him. And he convinced them both that he could get them $5 million. He got Zaire, the President Mobutu of Zaire, to buy into this fight, and after that fight, he started a 17-year monopoly on the heavyweight championship, all from the Rumble in the Jungle. And of course, even when it changed hands, Don won. He might come in there with Foreman's limo, like as he did in Jamaica, which was probably the biggest upset. Rather, he came in with Frazier's limo. And then Foreman crushed Frazier in one of the most brutal knockouts you'll ever will see. You could see it on the video during the interview, Don grabbing Foreman's shoulders and kind of squeezing and saying, my man, my man. And it's like, you came with the other guy. But that was the way Don was. He won no matter what.
He was smart, because what Don King did, and I don't know if he was the first guy to do this or not, quite honestly, but part of his deal was that he would always and when he made the deals, he would always somehow get a piece of the opponent. So he was covered, whether his guy won or lost. And if his guy lost the fight, he won. Because like you're saying, here he is, now he's with the other guy. And he made a lot of people a lot of money. And one of the things I know Don personally, and he's and I really know his son Carl very well, and Don is bigger than life, but the truth of the matter is he made a lot of people a lot of money, and the way he did it all came out on Saturday. He said, listen, there was no secret. I walked around with the cash, and Bob Arum was trying to use the race card. Well, you were hanging with you made black fighters feel more comfortable, and he said no, it was the money. And he says it doesn't matter what color you are, that the cash represents, you're dealing with multi-million dollar, and you hand somebody a suitcase full of 50,000 cash, and they agree to it. Well, that's that aurora of the cash. And he's right. I mean, he knew that, and he learned that from the numbers game, how important the cash was. And to this day, it's a true statement, Alex.
Absolutely, and it works. And, there is a sort of socioeconomic racial tinge to that, too, because you could argue that, of course, who does that work best with? Poor kids. Poor boxers who've never seen cash like that. You show them a suitcase full of money, sure, I'll sign with you. Whereas, somebody else might write them a check. Well, it's just a promise, This is a suitcase full of hundreds. And yeah, the sad thing is that at times that worked for him as well. One of the ones that was very famous was he shortchanged Ali in the very sad fight when Holmes beat Muhammad. And supposedly he owed Muhammad Ali $1 million. Well, Ali was going to sue him. And King talked to Ali's friend, Jeremiah Shabazz, who was one of Ali's first Muslim teachers. And he said, look, take this suitcase full of money and bring it to Ali. And I think it was only 50 grand.
Yep.
And he said, if you get him to sign this, don't give him the money unless you get him to sign that he won't sue me. And Shabazz did it. And I mean, that worked. And so that sort of money, he did those kind of things with Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez. But of course, the one that it backfired on him. But hey, it was a nice try, was when Hasim Rahman upset Lennox Lewis in South Africa when, and this is awful too, speaking of the race card, the way King told him, he was at a restaurant in New York, and I guess it was right around the time of the Trinidad Joppy fight, which was the Don King middleweight tourney. And he said he opened a fortune cookie, and it said, get Rahman, him ready. And he went to Rahman's hotel room, and I guess Rahman was in town too because it was right around the BWAA meeting for that year. And Rahman, of course, was the new upset heavyweight champion of the world after what he did in South Africa. And he showed Rahman a suitcase full of 500 grand in hundreds and said, "Hey, sign with me, and I'll get you a fight with Mike Tyson eventually." You know, I guess John Ruiz was going to fight Holyfield. So King had his hand in there. Little did he know Lennox Lewis was going to be like, "Look, no, you're fighting me in a rematch." But he won. I mean, he took the Rahman did sign with him, and Rahman was going to go to the BWAA meeting where he was, there was a dinner and then award ceremony, and he never showed up because he was meeting with King, and supposedly Roberto Duran was sitting next to him. He ate Rahman's steak, and at that meeting, Seth Abraham of HBO had, or Abramson, I could have put his name wrong, had a check for $5 million or $4 million, something like that, for Rahman, but it would have been a check. Of course, he signed with King, and the deal ended up falling apart, of course, because Lennox Lewis sued King, and Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson were some of the few people who sued King and won. Yeah, and Lennox, of course, sued and got Rahman to have to fight him, and then Lennox had probably the best performance of his whole career in crushing Rahman.
Yeah, but the funny thing is did they really win? I mean, Lennox Lewis sued Don King for $385 million. He didn't get all of that. Mike Tyson sued him for $100 million. He ended up getting $14 million. I mean, Don King was an expert at settling things out of court. We're running out of time here. The bottom line, Don King, been involved in the sport for a long time, and with all the biggest names, Alex, and that's, to me, the most impressive thing. The thing that's happened to Don King, I'll give you guys an inside scoop of what's going on with him right now. Not only is he 86, and not only is Alex 100% correct that he's not really an active promoter anymore. A lot of the reasons behind that is, Don King was a control guy. He had to have his hand on every bit of the boxing business. And as he aged and people started walking away from him, and that ESPN documentary really ruined it for him. A lot of fighters wanted to keep their distance from him, and Don King ended up suing ESPN and did not win that one. But basically all his cash cows started to leave, and a lot of the value that people think that Don has is not so much anymore. It was evident recently when he made a couple of purse bids, and I say recently, over the last 5 years, where other organizations, other promotional companies were bidding, like, for argument's sake, $2 million, and Don King won with a $15 million bid or something like that, because he was out of touch. The values and stuff were changed, and Don King, the best way I could describe it, Alex, is Don King is going through what fighters go through at this aging thing. And, I like Don personally, and I hope that, he can go out kind of on top, not, kind of the way it's heading. But any final thoughts on Don before we got to wrap it up here, brother?
That is sad, but there is a sort of poetry to that if he is ending up the way so many fighters do. I wonder. I tell you, when I saw him on Saturday night, I wondered how he's doing financially, because that jean jacket he's wearing, man, that thing has been around almost 20 years. He was wearing that at the Trinidad Jobbie fight.
I know. And in all due respect,
and that was 2001.
His wife, Henrietta, she was the glue that kept Don King together. And when she passed, a piece of Don King left this planet as well. Alex, great job as usual on that, and hopefully we can chat with you a little more. There's some hot topics going on. I would love to get your thoughts on the Triple G thing and the AJ Deontay Wilder must fight now thing. All the two big topics we talked about this week. So if you got some time, come on back either tomorrow or Friday, my man.
Sounds good, Billy C. Take care.
All right, that's Alex Papali doing a great job. Did not mean to cut my man off, but it's time for me to take a break. I don't want to get in trouble. You know me. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
We save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And back. He's back, my man Sal Rocky Senecola, looking a lot more awake now than he was earlier. But hey, I got something that's really on my mind, and anytime I start thinking about boxing ratings and stuff, the WBA always pops into my mind because the WBA is a bunch of clowns. Yesterday, we and really last week, but yesterday I referred to it again, the heavyweight division, and we were talking about Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, making the statement, and most of us all agree that has to be the next fight. Well, today, last night, it was announced that the WBA cruiserweight title is actually going to be fought for this weekend in France.
Oh, wow.
And the WBA cruiserweight title is vacant, and it's going to be fought between Arsen Goulamirian, who's 22-0 with 14 knockouts, against Raed Murhi, who's 24-0 with 20 knockouts. The fight is for the WBA cruiserweight. Now, I don't know how this can possibly be. First of all, being involved in this sport the way I am, I was a little surprised that I had never heard of either of these two fighters, okay? So I did what most people do. I went and looked at the rankings, and lo and behold, these two fighters do not appear on anybody's rankings, okay? No one's ranking, Sal, except for the WBA. And lo and behold, lo and behold, not only do they appear on the WBA rankings, but they're ranked number 1 and number 2. Okay.
Wow, that's great. They should fight each other.
I am so confused because the last I knew, we were having a unification. We had the World Boxing Super Series, and the last I knew, because of the way the Super Series unfolded, we actually only have 2 cruiserweight fighters right now that happen to possess all of the belts. We have Alexander Usyk and Murat Gassiev. Now, Gassiev used to be the WBA champion, the super champion, and Denis Ledebev was their regular champion. What belt became vacant for these two guys to fight? I have totally lost this whole scenario. The WBA, along with the WBC and the WBO and the IBF, all agreed to participate in the World Series of Boxing. And they also agreed that they would have a unified champion and then address the mandatories after that. And lo and behold, Sal, the WBA comes up with 2 mysterious fighters that appear in their rankings this morning at number 1 and number 2, and they are all of a sudden fighting for a vacant title on Saturday. What's going on, my man?
Well, we can always, somebody should ask Bob Arum.
Why? What does Bob Arum have to do with it?
Well, in the 80s, it was like the inside joke or the inside knowledge that the WBA didn't stand for World Boxing Association, but it stood for the acronym of "with Bob's approval."
Maybe you might have a point there. You might have a point there. The regular champion was Denis Ledebev. I don't know what happened to him. Did he vacate it? Did he, did he retire? Did that happen? Did it slide under the radar? I mean, I don't recall that happening. I really don't. Last I knew, he was trying to solidify a fight with the winner of the World Boxing Super Series tournament. So I mean, I'm lost, man. And to see these two guys appear at number 1 and number 2. Now, usually, until a fighter is a champion or until a fighter fights for a unification or an elimination fight, they're ranked in multiple sanctioning bodies. At least you hope they are. These two guys are only ranked in the WBA and only ranked at number 1 and number 2. This backs up what we were saying yesterday about the corruption in the ranking system. So, I can't go by what the sanctioning bodies have in their rankings. That's why I refer to the computer rankings. What's your thoughts on this, my man?
I wish I had somebody that would like to invest in me and put me back up in the top 10 or something so I could get a title shot. I don't know. It's interesting, Bill. It is what it is, and we know that. The boxing game has never been squeaky clean, and there are concessions, there are deals, and there are things that happen for whatever appears to be no apparent reason. But it is what it is. You can't change it. It's got to have a little bit of oil in the water, if you so to speak. I don't know, Bill. It is what it is. I can't believe it though that these guys just pop up 1 and 2, and now they're gonna decide who's won.
Well, I'm being told in the chat room that they stripped Denis Ledebev, which that flew under my radar. And what's the reason? I mean, he had made a successful defense within the allotted time. It was against the Slug, but so what? And he clearly expressed a desire to fight the winner of the World Boxing Super Series. So once again, people wonder why I think that the WBA is the worst of all. Well, here's just another example of it, Sal.
Well, not only that, but it's just hard to keep on top of when you have 5 world champions per weight class. Or more, or less, with all the belts bouncing around, it's hard to recognize who is the true champion, and who has to do the mandatories, and who's got to do this. There's a trade-off with every belt that these guys have. They've got to face the music. They've got this mandatory here. They've got that over there. It's chaos. It really is. So you want to know why. It's hard to keep attention on champions, on fighters, on what's going on, because it could change daily. And sometimes it does.
It's a joke. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, the IBF in the 154-pound division has set a elimination fight between Julian J. Rock Williams and Nathaniel Gallimore. 2 decent fighters, but they are fighting on April 7th on Showtime in an elimination bout. Now, the main event is actually a pretty tempting fight, in my opinion. Urslandi Lara, who's, again, the WBA champion. Give him credit, and he's a quality fighter. As a matter of fact, he holds the distinction of being the longest reigning champion in that division. He's going to be taking on another champion, this one in the IBF, Jarrett Hurd, for a unification fight. Now, this is going to be a really good fight. Jarrett Hurd is a monster. I don't know how he makes the 154-pound weight class, but he's going to be taking on a talented fighter in Urslandi Lara. A lot of people feel Lara's losses are really robberies that he should have won. So a good one. And also on that card, Khalib Truax taking on James DeGale in his first title defense. So we'll be looking forward to that in April on Showtime. So once again, Showtime separating themselves from HBO, but we'll see what happens with the Anthony Joshua sweepstakes, don't you think?
Oh, I think so. It's interesting. I'll tell you. I just, like you were saying earlier, the sweepstakes. The only fight I want to see after next week is Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder.
Okay, so they're filling me in the chat room. They're saying that the WBA is claiming that Denis Ledebev is a champion of recess. So this is my exact reason. We have a super right now in the WBA.
Wait,
we have a super champion. Listen, the WBA has the audacity to claim that we have a super champion in the WBA at the cruiserweight division, who's going to be fighting in the World Boxing Super Series. We will have a new regular old champion after Saturday when these 2 guys that come out of left field fight for the title. And Denis Ledebev, who used to have the title, who was so-called stripped or whatever, is not really stripped. He's a champion in recess, so he gets to fight the winner of this regular title at some point whenever he gets back from recess. I don't know if he's injured, if he's on vacation. I don't know what the deal is. But this is a joke. The bottom line with these sanctioning bodies, Sal, is if you want one of your fighters to fight and you send them a check, you're in. That's all it takes. You don't have to earn it anymore. That's why you see these fighters that don't fight quality fighters all of a sudden are ranked, and like Jarrell Baby Miller. This guy's a bum. He hasn't fought anybody. And I don't say that you know, he could very well become a champion someday and really fight somebody. But right now, based on his record, and like the great Bill Parcells once said, you're only as good as your record says you are. And this guy is undefeated, but when you look at his record, he hasn't fought anybody. And he's not fighting anybody again when he steps in the ring next time. So it's a joke, man. It's sickening, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what are you going to do?
I don't know, pal. It is crazy. It's really hard to have the fan follow all that happens and the bouncing ball, as we often relate to. It is what it is. Like I said, it's hard. It used to be one world champion. Now there's 5, 6 per weight class.
Yeah, you know, they can't, a sanctioning body can't strip somebody and then relabel them. But this is my point. We've talked about it jokingly, but it's true. In each division, in each sanctioning body, conceivably, you could have 5 world champions walking around. And just right. In the WBA, you could have a champion, a super champion, a regular champion, a interim champion, a champion in recess, a champion in Muay Thai. You know, you could
just in a WBA,
right? So multiply that times 4.
So you got 5 potential world champions just in one organized body, and you got 4 other world sanctioned bodies.
So multiply 5 times 4, it equals 20. So
20 world champions.
At any given time, we could have 20 guys walking around in one specific division, all claiming to be the world champion. It's a joke. It's a shame. And the worst part about it is that if they fight on a card, they'll be introduced as the world champion, as the world champion. You know, come on.
Yeah,
anyway, on this day in boxing history, March 21st, in 1997, Montel Griffin wins the WBC World Light Heavyweight title via a 9th round disqualification over Roy Jones Jr. in Atlantic City, New Jersey. On this day in 1998, Graziano Racciani, and I'm shocked that I can't pronounce this guy's name, wins a 12-round decision over Michael Nunn to win the vacant WBC World Light Heavyweight title. It took place in Germany. On this day in 1914, Matt Wells wins a 20-round decision over Tom McCormick to win the World Welterweight title. It took place in Australia. On this day in 1963, Roberto Cruz knocks out Battlein Torres in the first round to win the vacant World Junior Welterweight title. It took place in California. And on the same card, Sugar Ramos knocks out Davey Moore in the 11th round to win the World Featherweight title, and that took place in Los Angeles, California on this day in 1963. Hey, Sal, you got any final thoughts today, my man?
No. It wasn't Davey Moore. Didn't he die in a freak accident with a car rolling over him or something?
Yes, he did.
Yes, and he lost the title to Roberto Duran, I think, the junior middleweight title, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there was two.
My memory.
There was two Davey Moores. Yeah. Okay. All right.
More or less.
Yeah. But yes, he did. That Davey Moore did fight Roberto Duran. But
right.
You know, you're one of your.
And he had a freak accident with a car. I was so sorry to hear that. That was going back many years.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff. There's this book out of some weird deaths to fighters, like a guy walking in his sleep and falling into a pool with no water in it. You know, and they claim, geez, he never walked in his sleep before. You know, he owed the wrong people money. But anyway, hey, boys and girls, don't forget, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.